So I'm going to go through some slides, and I uh, wish that we could interact and have, be in the same room. And since we can't, I'm going to show you visual images as a way of offering something that you might remember and take home. And what I offer will be a, you know, a soup. There's or the many things in the soup, and hopefully you like at least one of the ingredients and relate to it. So it is helpful for us to realize that we have some control over our balance, our what I call allostasis, how we regulate our mind body states during the day. And so we don't just have we're awake, we're stressed or relaxed, or we're asleep. We have these subtle states that we can recognize. And so this ranges from very high stress, the acute stress response, which is beautiful and we need it. And then we want to try to turn it off when we're not under direct threat. What we are so good at is carrying around stress throughout the day when we're not under direct, we don't need to directly cope, run, problem solve in that moment, but we keep the stress response alive. And I call that yellow mind or moderate threat state. And that tends to be how we our baseline state. And so we want to get to green mind. We want to get out of yellow mind and into allowing our body minutes or more of relaxation. And how do we do that? We send our body safety signals. We remind ourselves we need the explicit signaling because the stress signals are all around us. And, the discussion, the media, just the body's unconscious staying vigilance. And so the safety signals are what we've been doing already is grounding ourselves and having some mind-body practices. And even as Tanya said, reminding ourselves to breathe in, to feel calm, and breathe out with a smile. That's a safety signal. And our body needs to hear the words and go through the motions. And of course, there's deep rest states, blue mind states. How do we move through these? How do we move to be a little less in red and yellow mind and more in green and blue mind? We need to notice the levels of threat we have, our mindset, and move to a safety mindset when we can. We won't always be in a safety mindset, but we don't always need to be thinking and talking about our biggest problems in humanity and the threats to people we love 24/7. And it's so hard to create protected time, but this is what we need to do. So I'd like to point out just some ways that we can think about moving toward and triggering a safety mindset that allows our body these breaks that we need. And so our default mode is to feel threat of harm or loss, to be vigilant, to be looking for those cues and to be wanting to problem solve. Having the emotions, fear and anxiety, and ultimately feeling alone. A safety mindset is feeling safe when we can by explicitly reminding ourselves. So even during meditation, saying to ourselves, let's just try it right now. At this moment, it's okay to relax. Right now, I can feel safe. And whatever words work for you, these are important. And our cells are listening and they know what that means. They also listen to our breathing. When our breathing slows, that's one of our biggest safety signals. Our body is safe right now. Other mindsets that help us turn on a safety mindset. The not knowing mind, being explicit with, I don't know the future. We don't control that. We don't control outcomes. This ability to be okay with the uncertainty, the insidious uncertainty. We hate uncertainty, but to actually embrace it and sigh and exhale with the not knowing. And that right now in this moment, we can be okay and safe, even though we don't know the future. The unknown future, which has openness and possibility. And in this dark time, in this horrible dark time, there is light ahead. we know that we will grow, heal, come out stronger, forge peace. We don't know when, and we all do our little part, but the knowing that the light will come and the acceptance of what is now, which comes back to the giving up of control of what the big things that we don't control and the finding the little things that we do control. So one statement in this radical acceptance mindset is things are exactly as they are right now. Reality is as it is right now. There's always this not knowing of the future, but the acceptance of how things are now. When we need to step back and reel in our striving, hopeful, vigilant mind, our body that so wants to be controlling things. Okay, so, and of course, hope and compassion. So thinking about the stress response, this is a typical stress response during communal trauma. I talked a lot about this during the pandemic, which is that as the day goes on, we have a buildup of anxiety and tension in the body, but not all of us. And so what's the difference between the person who has the slope upward and at the end of the day feels emotionally exhausted, or the person who has maintained the ups and downs and has kept their overall anxiety low? What's that resilience? Is that personality? No. It is the ability to actually withdraw from the tension, from the danger, from the stress, and take wellness pauses. And we all can do that. And so that's part of our resilience, is actually understanding how we need to immerse ourselves in the presence, in connection, in safety. And I study mitochondria. Our mitochondria is our battery, and it's sensitive to stress. There's nothing more expensive to our energy, our mitochondria, than the acute stress response. And so just think of your body as a cell phone. You need to restore it. And so you need to take these breaks. There's the bookends of the day. There's also breaks during the day. And that's what our mitochondria needs. So Tanya's meditation, I think of that as a catch and release stress. See what's there and let it go. And one strategy that might help, if you're not in too intense of an emotional state, you can actually sit back and collect data on your emotions. And so that actually is helpful information, is simply asking what emotions are present. There'll be so many right now. Naming a few specific emotions helps us move away from the big alarm response in our brain, the amygdala saying danger, 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 down to information we can use, understanding, emotional clarity, and problem solving. And then secondly, finding safety signals. We can be aware of the danger signals. We can control some of them, like reducing talk in media about the war. But safety signals are easy, and we just need a few of them. It might be objects, aromatherapy, sense. That's one of our really primal but powerful, important stress reduction pathways is stress reducing aromatherapy, pictures of nature, of people you love, pets, and save people that you can both comfort and be comforted by. And so a word I'd love you to remember is co-regulation. There's no managing this alone. It's easy to become anxious through others' anxiety and to transmit anxiety, but it's even more powerful to be transmitting calm. And if you're one person in the room who is transmitting calm and ease and providing a wider perspective, you are co-regulating the nervous system of those you love, of those around you. So labeling emotions is simply noticing that doing a check and noticing you may feel overwhelmed and stressed, and then asking what's present. And you can use your body as a source of data. Often it can give you the emotional granularity that you might not have. You might feel confused and overwhelmed. Sadness and grief, getting down to those really core and difficult emotions and allowing yourself to feel them is the only way to release them. And when we can name our emotions and express them with others, with expressive arts, this is what we have been evolved to do through ritual, through arts. So bringing emotional clarity is helpful. We just published a paper. I can share the link with Ronnie. That is a scientific understanding of why prayer and mind-body practices from all traditions have this commonality for healing. And so there are many common elements, this social safety, see this blue ring, external safety being signaled, being in green space, being in a secluded room where you feel safe, where you can turn off the phone. We need to signal safety, music, nature, beautiful scents, and save people. So first we can think of how remind yourself that you're safe, do something to feel safe, weighted blankets, sensory triggers for safety are so important and powerful. What happens when we do prayer or contemplative practice? Our breathing becomes naturally slower and rhythmic. And what happens in the cell? This is where we spend a lot of research time. We are telling ourselves it's okay to clean up all the metabolic waste from stress. It's okay to repair. We get to build back up our mitochondria, our energy stores. We feel less exhausted at the end of the day. So it's simple. Please try this. When you wake up, when you go to bed, when you hold the hand of someone with you who's feeling grief or feeling loss, feeling on the edge of vigilance, check in. Put your feet on the ground or lie on the ground. If you feel that you can handle it, doing a check-in, a landscape of what emotions are present, or just shifting right to the body. Slowing the breathing is one of the biggest ways. Let's do a physiological side together. We're going to breathe in twice, all the way to the top. One big breath, a small breath, and a long exhalation. We're going to do that 3 times. So breathing in like this, and out. Now do it with me. One big breath in, a smaller breath to fill up to the top, and a long, slow exhalation. Breathing in, again, and release. Breathing in to the top, and release. And again, inhale, again, and slow, long exhale out. That you can do within a minute, and that can change up and release some of the nervous system, shifting it from sympathetic to parasympathetic. Other ways are listed here: slow breathing, 6 breaths per minute, or yogic breathing. Of course, there's tremendous research showing that being in nature and opening our sensory gauge so that we're attending and feeling nature, listening, touching, is immediately reducing blood pressure, stress response. Then there's intense stress methods. I use these a lot. The top-down methods like meditation are secondary to me. And so I go right for the hermetic stress. Positive stress to the body can reduce acute stress. That could be cold showers. It could be hyperthermia or sauna. It could be doing push-ups or HIITs. The 7-minute workout is something we've studied in the lab. It works just as well as meditation and slow breathing. Okay, so thinking about trauma, the body wants predictability. It wants structure and routine. So just adding some of these, a ritual to the morning upon waking and to the evening, and adding some joy to it. And just thinking about what brings you joy. You might even write down 5 things. What brings you joy? Little things, big things. You might try our big crowdsourced study. We have about 70,000 people from around the world who've tried this. And we just bring in a joy practice for 5 minutes in the morning for a week. The website's listed down here. It's a free study. And we're simply asking people to do things like show kindness to a stranger, show gratitude and appreciation to someone. And we find that these really do increase well-being, emotional well-being, and sleep quality. Just waking up and asking, what am I grateful for today, can shift us from threat mode and wishing things were different to what's present, what's good right now. Creative arts and therapy, music, dance, movement, these are absolutely how we're evolved to reduce stress, particularly together. During trauma, these are non-talk therapy ways. And lastly, social support. Jack Saul, my dear colleague who's a world expert in communal trauma and communal healing, is going to talk about ways as a community that we can bring in support. So safe thinking about anything that can promote a safety mindset, even for a few moments. Wellness pauses, what works for you, and joy. This is a website that I've made it at our university that has a lot of ideas for dealing with moral trauma, moral distress, moral outrage, as well as tips for parents. So I will end there. I have a website. I'm putting some free chapters from my book, The Stress Prescription, on this website. Thank you so much. It's such a wonderful privilege to talk to you all.